I think the T in TFC no longer stands for Toronto. I think it stands for turmoil, whether it be on the field, whether it be off it, in the dressing room, between the players, whether it be amongst different factions in the front office. I think it's fair to say that the season that's unraveling in front of our collective eyes here at TFC Fans is leading to significant turmoil to come. How you doing? Tim here, View from the South Stands, coming to you on Monday after TFC's latest loss. Getting real sick of saying that in Major League Soccer, losing 3-2 at home to the Chicago Fire. Not going to talk very much about the actual specifics of the game today, other than the fact that Frings in his return gave away, in conjunction with Milos Kosic, gave away a goal within the first minute of the game. TFC claws back and gets a 2-1 lead, and then manages to give the lead away within 60 seconds of actually obtaining it. They did score some goals. They did look positive in certain respects going forward. But again, inexplicable lineup choices, inexplicable tactics, and dare I say rigid tactics sort of led to Chicago doing what every other team that we've played in Major League Soccer this season has been able to do, which is pick TFC apart defensively on the counter. And we'll get more to that in a bit. I haven't speculated about this yet, and I don't really want to speculate now, but I want to put a question out there to you, the viewer. I want to actually ask if you think Aaron Winter is going to see out the term of his contract, which is 3 years. So he's 1 year and a bit, obviously, into his contract right now. At times on Saturday past, it looked like either from a tactics perspective or from a being the boss and controlling his players perspective, it seemed that he lost the plot on Saturday. Going with a 3-4-3 versus a 4-4-2 that Chicago was playing, and again, as I mentioned off the top, leaving a lot of defensive gaps for teams to go over the top and beat TFC on the counter, was really the start of the day. But the part that really looked really inexplicable to me was what Torsten Frings was doing. If you remember the first goal that I mentioned right off the top, that he and Kosic on a bit of a bad play collectively gave up within the first minute at BMO Field on Saturday. As the game progressed along, Frings was moving further and further up the field, moving into the midfield, and I remember tapping a friend of mine on the shoulder, Lee, who's a faithful viewer. How you doing, Lee? Basically, he's like, Tim, am I seeing what I'm seeing here? I'm seeing Torsten Frings playing striker, and lo and behold, that's exactly what he was doing. Whether that was Winter's call, whether that was Frings saying, screw this, I'm going to take this team on my back and I'm going to make it win, didn't work, unfortunately. In either way, I have to ask, tactically, what was that all about? Or if it wasn't tactics, how did he lose control of his players so completely? And post game, and I'm going to link to the press conference right below this video blog as well. I think it's important for everybody to see what Aaron Winter is saying. Asked straight out why he didn't strengthen the center back position the way that it should have been strengthened in the off season, that everybody, including yours truly, was preaching about month after month after month after month after month. He brought out the old chestnut of Caicedo, the guy that didn't work out. Well, guess what? He didn't work out on your watch, TFC front office. And I think, obviously, whatever strength you tried to bring from a defensive perspective to this club has been an abject failure to this point. Because, let's face it, 0-8. Setting a record for Major League Soccer futility. And there's been some real shit teams in this league, by the way, boys and girls. Long before Toronto FC came in, there were some really horrible sides playing in horrible stadiums with no fans for a long time before the Reds were even thought about by MLSE. But we're going to Real Salt Lake this weekend which is a graveyard for TFC. I don't think they've ever gotten a win there. I think they may have gotten a draw. I'll have more on that game later on in this week on the blog. But they go to RSL. They play at altitude. They play a really strong team that's really good on the counter, that's organized, that's quick, that's good on the ball. And getting something from that game is going to be an absolute shock. Then they come back and to rub salt in the wounds, a suddenly informed Dwayne De Rosario and a suddenly informed Maicon Santos, former midfielder and striker, respectively, starting striker and midfielder last year for TFC, going to be coming back to town for DC United, and I wouldn't be shocked if they lay the boots to the Reds just for spite when they come here in 2 weeks' time. So 0-8 and setting a record for futility is a real possibility. And again, I ask, and I want to get your comments on this, folks. Do you think Aaron Vinter is going to see out his contract, especially if the team ends up at 0-8? Now, off the field, we're hearing rumblings as well in the press of a lot of players actually getting at each other as well. I've heard stories about De Guzman and rookie Luis Silva getting almost a fisticuffs in the dressing room. I'm hearing Tom Anselmi today in an email to the Canadian press use the word they when he was referring to the TFC coaching staff. A friend on Twitter tweeted today, they, wasn't it supposed to be all for one? That's the the brand of the team, because it seems like Anselmi and the higher-ups are finally cluing in that there's something really wrong once again with their soccer product. And on top of that, getting back to Julian De Guzman for a second, again, I don't want to belabor the point, but for a second game in a row, our $2 million designated player with a healthy scratch. He didn't start either game. He had some choice words for the club and what was happening on the field afterwards. I noticed this morning when I went to get the video link for Aaron Vinter's press conference that lo and behold, the interview with Julian De Guzman that was posted on TFC TV has actually been pulled. So the team actually pulled the interview that he actually posted on Saturday. Now, what that means, does that mean that he's gone? Does that mean the changes are coming? Does that mean, that he's going to be leaving by mutual consent? There's going to be a trade? Well, it can't be a trade because the window's closed, but you know what I mean? Is there going to be any movement with Julian De Guzman in the coming days? I personally would not be surprised if he leaves the club by mutual consent. I would not be shocked at all. So changes are coming. And there are changes that perhaps the cynic in some of you might say should have been made at the end of last season, between then and the start of the Champions League campaign this year. There's real calls right now in certain quarters for heads to roll in the front office. There's a real dysfunction, I think it's fair to say, in the front office when you've got a Tom Anselmi who's supposed to be the boss of bosses calling the coaching staff they instead of us. I think there's a real issue there. And the second question I want to ask is, do you folks think it's too late to salvage anything from this season? I think the playoffs obviously now are a pipe dream. I'd be absolutely shocked. I made that call back in like July or August of last year, and I think it's too late at this point to salvage anything significant for Major League Soccer. So that leaves, of course, the Voyageurs Cup, and that leaves CONCACAF once again. Who knows? They could pull the Jekyll and Hyde, beat Vancouver and Montreal, that are frankly better sides than TFC right now, or for that matter, FC Edmonton, with due respect. TFC could come back and win that trophy for the fourth straight time. Who knows? I think that's going to be a bit of an ask considering the turmoil right now, but I think that might be TFC's only chance to bring anything positive to the fans this season. And for a final thought, a la Jerry Springer, I want to ask this as well. Doesn't it feel that the Champions League run was 5 years ago rather than 5 weeks ago? It was just a little over a month ago, folks, that we were actually in our thousands at the Rogers Centre screaming when Ryan Johnson scored that goal, screaming when Luis Silva scored his goal. We had almost 50,000 fans there, and the future looked really, really bright. Since then, we haven't won a damn thing. We drew Santos Laguna. We lost to them. We got blown out away at Santos Laguna, and we haven't won a single league game since, home or away. And that may not end for the next 2 or 3 weeks. We honestly don't know. I think anybody that does anybody who says they does, I should say, is an absolute fool. So, Turmoil, thy name is TFC. Is Aaron Vinter going to see out his contract? Is Julian de Guzman gone from the team soon? And doesn't the Champions League run feel like an eternity ago rather than just a few weeks ago that it was? Again, I don't like being angry or upset about this team, and I'm not going to be. I wrote a piece about it this week stating that when it no longer becomes fun, I'm not going to care anymore, and it's still fun. But boy, oh boy, it gets harder and harder and harder to have fun week after week after week when we have to put up with the dreck that we're putting up with. And then on top of that, the club goes and does something absolutely silly and I think very disrespectful to Toronto FC fans, and that's announce a friendly against Liverpool in July. And I wrote about this already as well, but I just need to vent about this as well, because this is the thing that makes me angry. They move a league game that was scheduled for July against Chicago to September. They do that earlier in the year to free up this date. Chicago was playing a friendly, I think, against Tottenham Hotspur at that time as well. But TFC freed up the date as well. They moved that game to September, which clashes with World Cup qualifying, which means TFC could be 1, 2, 3, 4, if you include Ryan Johnson from Jamaica. You're looking at Plata, maybe. You're looking at 5, maybe 6 players that are going to be gone for a league game in September, which is such a disrespect to TFC fans. But obviously, they want the filthy lucre that comes from bringing in another meaningless friendly in the season that does nothing to help this team make the playoffs or actually progress in this market, in my humble opinion. So I think that was a huge slap in the face as well. So I'm going to have a lot more about that when they announce tickets. And I think with this slide that this team has been on, I'd be shocked if they announce anything about this Liverpool game for a while, at the very least. All right, so I feel a little better. I vented. I hope you vented as well. Watch the press conference below. I think it's really insightful for you to actually take a step back and really truly listen to what Aaron Vinter is saying and try to read between the lines. And I'll have much more on Turmoil FC throughout the week. Thanks again for watching, and you guys have a great day. Cheers.